Hello from wherever you are and whatever time it is that you're watching this. It's about 11 o'clock where I'm filming. As you can see, I've got my kids in the background who are probably going to interrupt a few times throughout this. Very curious about what Mum's doing, but this is what work is like in this new era that we're in of COVID-19. But I wanted just to share some thoughts I had on one of our passages for this week, Psalm 16. And I'm just going to read from verses 4, 5 and 6. And it says, "Troubles multiply for those who chase after other gods. I will not take part in their sacrifices of blood or even speak the names of their gods. Lord, you alone are my inheritance, my cup of blessing. You guard all that is mine. The land you have given me is a pleasant land. What a wonderful inheritance." And then 7 and 8. "I will bless the Lord who guides me. Even at night, my heart instructs me. I know the Lord is always with me. I will not be shaken, for he is right beside me." I had an interesting thought when I was reading this earlier this week, and the thought was around the worship of other gods. And I thought at the time that this was written, the other gods were, I guess, right in your face. There were literally idols around and different rituals that people undertook to worship them. And I think it's almost easier to then recognize when someone was worshipping something other than the one true God. But I think in our culture, in the world that we live in, this can be harder to recognize. When is it that we are putting things ahead of God, or our order of priorities when it comes to life are out of whack, where God is not at the top and the pursuit of God and Jesus is not our first priority? These are harder, I think, to recognize. And I think in this time of COVID-19, where lots of us are working from home or maybe not working at all, where we're stuck at home and not able to do the things that we normally would do, sometimes this could be a time where we're able to maybe consider or maybe see a bit more clearly some of those things that we really highly value and question. Do these things sit higher for us on our list of priorities than pursuing God? For some of us, this time has given us more time. For some of us, we feel like it's taken time away. I know for me, my kids are not in daycare at the moment, so finding the me time is a lot more difficult. One of the reasons I'm sitting outside here with the kids in the background is just finding time to do some of those things I'd normally do on my own is getting a lot more difficult. But one of the things that we need to do is to make sure that God remains our priority. And whatever that looks like for us, whatever the pursuit of God in our current circumstances looks like, there still needs to be the pursuit of God. So what does your quiet time with God look like? How are you pursuing God? Are you able to find a regular time each day where you sit down and maybe pray and wait quietly to hear from God and read His Word? Or is it a little bit more on the go? Are you a bit like me where you get interrupted every now and then from little people walking around and needing your attention? I think God understands. Verse 8 tells us that I know the Lord is always with me. And that brings comfort to me, because that means that if God is always with me, then He always knows the circumstances of my life that I face, the challenges that exist in my life, and I think He makes allowances for that. But He always wants us to be pursuing Him. He's always reaching out to us. And sometimes that will look different. I know before I had kids, I really enjoyed the mornings and getting up early and having that time to myself. That's a little bit more difficult these days. But we have to find something that works for us. What's most important, as I've already said, is that we are pursuing God, whatever that looks like for us. So, verse 5 says, Lord, you alone are my inheritance, my cup of blessing. You guard all that is mine. The land you have given me is a pleasant land. What a wonderful inheritance. And I think that's the challenge. Recognizing that God is with us in every season, and that while every season has its challenges, every season comes with its blessings because God is with us. So let's continue to seek God and ask him to continue to open our eyes to the blessings that come in every season. I invite you to comment below if you've read this passage this week, and if God has spoken to you through this passage or challenged you or encouraged you in some way. But let's be sharing what God is saying to us in these days. Bless you.